Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. This is the Super Bowl post-game show here on the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and last night, Super Bowl 60. It is in the books. What a game. I mean, I know a lot of people have had different feelings about the game. Obviously, that's an every year thing. You know, different feelings about the game and the halftime show and just everything. You know, you break things down, you analyze everything, and you say whether you like something or you didn't like something. That's everywhere and everything. Okay, so, but last night, Super Bowl 60, me personally, I'm a defensive guy. I didn't think it was a bad game at all. I think it was a pretty decent game for what it was. Was it exciting? Yeah, it was okay. Was it everything I expected? No. Full disclosure, my prediction was Seattle to win 41-17. That was my prediction. Okay. But it didn't pan out that way. Now, the outcome was correct. Seattle raised the Lombardi Trophy last night. Sam Darnold raising his first Lombardi Trophy in his career, completing his, career turnaround. And arguably the best career turnaround in the NFL ever. If that's something that you want to argue about, I mean, great, argue about it. What's up, Cam? Thank you for joining me this morning here on the Huddle Hub Podcast, post-game show for the Super Bowl. Was going to do this last night, but I figured, you know what? I'm going to just let everything settle. And I was like, I'm not going to wait till Tuesday. I'll just do it today. It's Monday. It's the day after the Super Bowl, and why wait 2 days? So that's why we're here. But Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks raising the Lombardi Trophy last night. We're going to get into it in just a moment. We're going to run down the scoring summary, the drive summaries, who won MVP, final scores, and we're going to dig deep into last night's game. But before we do, please head over to the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media after the show today, over on X and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the follow button. Over on the YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod, you're going to hit the subscribe button. That's how you follow on the YouTube. And if you're watching on Twitch, hit that follow button, turn your notifications on. And if you go follow on X, that's where I announce when shows are going live. But you can turn the notifications on over on the Twitch or YouTube channel, and you'll see when we go live here as we build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the NFL offseason and beyond. So, like I said, last night, Super Bowl 60 happened, and the Seattle Seahawks defeated the New England Patriots of a final score 29-13. Okay. Now, like I said, we're going to go over the scoring summary. And up until the fourth quarter, not much. Okay. Was there a record broken? Were there records broken? Yeah. And we're going to get into that too. The records and milestones that were met and broken last night. So to get into it, let's get into the scoring summary. First quarter with 11 minutes, 58 seconds to go. Kicker from the Seahawks, Jason Meyer, 33-yard field goal to put the Seahawks up 3-0. Going into the second quarter, Seahawks up 3-0 with 11 minutes and 16 seconds left. Jason Myers kicks a 39-yard field goal. And then with 11 seconds left in the half, he kicked a 41-yard field goal. Seahawks go into the half up 9-0. Okay. So you're probably sitting there thinking how pretty boring Super Bowl at this point. It's 9-0. The last time, the Patriots were in a Super Bowl was against the Rams back at Super Bowl 53. And the final score of that was 13-3. Okay. So again, a lot of people would say, boring Super Bowl. Again, I'm a defensive guy. So I love defense, and whether it's in the Super Bowl or whether it's in week 2 of the regular season, I'm for it. Let those defenses battle, and let's see who comes out on top. Let's see what offense takes control of this game and see who comes out on top. Well, so far, Seattle at halftime was up 9-0. Defense was cooking. They were on their heels all game. It got better towards the end. It was a snooze fest. And again, Cam, like I said, everybody is going to have their own feelings, opinions, likes, dislikes about the game last night. And the one thing I will say this is people just need to respect how people felt about the game last night. And that's that. People can argue back and forth all you want, whether it was boring, whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether it was this, whether it was that. But at the end of the day, everybody is going to have their own feeling about it, and people just need to be respectful about it. They do. That's the sad thing is a lot of people think that everything has to be their way. And no. You felt like it was a snooze fest up until possibly the fourth quarter, I'm guessing, then so be it. That's how you felt about the game. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't let anybody take that away from you. We get into the third quarter. Jason Myers kicked a 41-yard field goal with 9 minutes, 12 seconds left. 12-0 at the end of the third quarter. Okay. And then we get into the fourth quarter. And this is when some of the touchdowns and stuff started happening. A.J. Barner, tight end of the Seahawks, he caught a 16-yard touchdown catch with 13 minutes, 24 seconds left. Then Mac Hollins, wide receiver of the Patriots, with a 35-yard touchdown catch with 12:27 left. Jason Myers comes in and kicks his 5th field goal. And part of the records and milestones, we'll get into that in a minute. He kicks his 5th field goal from 26 yards out with 5 minutes, 35 seconds left. And then Uchenna and Russo, linebacker of the Seahawks. Now, at first, they called this a sack fumble, but then later on, it was ruled an interception by Uchenna and Russo. Okay, so the Eagles, who currently hold the Super Bowl sack record of 7, it was given back to them as the record holders because the Seahawks at that moment thought they tied that record, but it did not happen that way. It was deemed an interception, so the record goes back to Philadelphia with Seattle having 6 sacks. 56-yard interception return for a touchdown with 4 minutes and 27 seconds left. And then Ramondre Stevenson, running back of the Patriots, 11-yard touchdown catch with 2:21 left. But that was it. The Seahawks 29, Patriots 13. Your Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker III, the running back of the Seahawks. Okay. Now, as far as the drive breakdown, this is your drive breakdown. Okay. So how the Patriots, this is how their drives went. Okay? They had 15 drives. 15 drives. And this is how it went. Punt, 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 kneel down to end the half. Punt, 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 fumble loss, touchdown, interception, fumble loss, touchdown, end of the game. Okay? The Patriots had 2 touchdowns. Switch that over. The Patriots had 2 touchdowns, 0 field goals, 8 punts, and 3 turnovers. Crazy statistic. Crazy. 8 punts. 8 punts. 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 of them were in a row. The kneel down, the drive to end the half. You kind of got to swipe that away. And if you swipe that away, then you had 7 punts in a row. Your first 7 drives, or first 8 drives, sorry. 2, 4, 6, 8. Your first 8 drives. Punts. No momentum by New England whatsoever. They couldn't gain any type of momentum. It's like any little bit of momentum swung to the side of Seattle. Because were they able to gain momentum? Kinda. But not fully. They were able to drive the ball, but not get into the end zone until the fourth quarter. So, there was really no momentum by New England. None whatsoever. They had a couple good plays. But momentum? Momentum is kind of a continuous thing. They didn't really have a continuous thing going on. They didn't. And Seattle, for the most part, they were able to drive, but not finish by getting in the end zone, kicking field goals. So they partially had some momentum. But here's the Seahawks drive breakdown. Field goal, punt, field goal, punt, field goal, punt, touchdown, punt, field goal, punt. Okay? 13 drives, 1 touchdown, 5 field goals, 7 punts, 0 turnovers. Now you're thinking, Mike, no, they scored another touchdown. Yeah, on defense with the interception. That doesn't count as a drive. That's a turnover. That was one of the Patriots' turnovers. And that's what I mean. Is they had a chance, but the thing is picking up that momentum. They didn't have any. There was no momentum whatsoever on New England's side. None. But a total of 15 drives by the Patriots, 13 by the Seahawks. So that's the drive count, drive statistic. Again, the Seattle Seahawks are your Super Bowl 60 champions, winning 29-13. It is their second Super Bowl championship in franchise history. Kenneth Walker III getting MVP. Okay? The thing is, I wish there was so much more to say about this. Other than it was a defensive battle. And then in the fourth quarter, it decided to pick up a little bit. And Seattle, scored a touchdown. And a defensive touchdown. Offensive touchdown, defensive touchdown. Games like this sometimes are the hardest to break down. They are. Going back to last year's Super Bowl, before the Huddle Hub podcast was born, and before we were under another name, when we were under another name, doing the post-game show immediately after the Super Bowl. There was so much to talk about. Why? Because Philadelphia was up 34-0 at halftime. And then they went out and won that game 40-22. So much happened in that game last year. Where this year it was defense, dominance. Drake May was pressured a season high I believe 12, 14 times from the left side. You go back and watch replays. Believe me, I did. Believe me, I watched replays from last night. The pressure on that left side. It's not something the Patriots need to go out and fix. They don't need to do that. They have a young rookie left tackle that needs work, obviously. He did great in the regular season. But then you got to the level of the Super Bowl and gave up as many pressures and sacks. So there's work to be done. And I get it. You're on a stage to where everybody's watching you. That World Championship's 4 quarters away. You're nervous. All that stuff. So New England doesn't need to go out and fix that. They don't. Are they going to improve on it? Yeah, they'll improve on it. Drake May saying that he wishes he can go back to the beginning of the game and start over. But do you really think that the outcome would have been different? Do you think that? Now, I said it yesterday on the show with Cam that one thing that Drake May needs to do is concentrate on throwing to his tight end. Because the Seahawks, they were known this year for not being very good at blocking in the tight end position. Okay? Hunter Henry, 3 catches, 31 yards. 3 catches, 31 yards. So that's about 10.3 yards per catch. That's a first down. That's 3 first downs right there. That's called building momentum. Why would you not put the ball in your tight end's hands? Where Seattle's at their weakest. Why? The momentum you could have built, you could have started up, picking things up. Your offense could have got going. All off the back of Hunter Henry. But instead, you try and throw, deep passes to Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins. Henderson couldn't get going, worth of anything. Ramondre Stevenson. 7 carries, 23 yards for Ramondre Stevenson. And Travion Henderson, 6 carries, 19 yards. It's like a total of 40 yards. That offense was completely shut down. And yeah, they put points on the board, but they were completely shut down. Completely. So again, Seattle winning the Super Bowl 29-13. Kenneth Walker III, he ended up winning Super Bowl MVP. He had one hell of a performance last night. One hell of a performance. 27 carries, 135 yards. And then he went out and caught the ball 2 times for 26 yards. Sadly enough, no touchdowns. He did score. He did get in the end zone, but it got called back on a holding. Which you could see the offensive lineman that held was furious with himself. He took away that moment. But think of it this way. He may have taken away a touchdown, but he still won Super Bowl MVP. So, he's going home with an MVP trophy, regardless of whether he got in the end zone or not. I know getting in the end zone, scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl is important for players, but, get back there next year and do it. Get back there in 2 years and do it. I don't know. Get back and do it, I don't want to make my early 2026 predictions on these two teams. I'm not going to go there today. I will be making early predictions, but not today. Not today. Not the day after the Super Bowl. No. So, let's get into the records and milestones that were broken last night. There were some records and milestones that were broken last night. So, first off, Jason Myers, kicker of the Seahawks. He became the 5th kicker in Super Bowl history to make 4 field goals, and he was the first kicker in history to make 5. So, Jason Myers, in the record books. Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles back at Super Bowl 59. He kicked 4 field goals. Harrison Butker, kicker of the Chiefs, back at Super Bowl 58, kicked 4 field goals. Ray Wersching, 49ers kicker back at Super Bowl 16, and Don Chandler, Packers kicker back at Super Bowl 2. All kicked 4 field goals, but now Jason Myers holds the record for 5. He is also the kicker that scored the most points in Super Bowl history with 17 points. So 5 field goals times 3, that's 15, and then 2 extra points, that's 17. Scored the most points by a kicker in the Super Bowl. This was the second Super Bowl in history where there were 0 touchdowns in the first 3 quarters. The last time it happened, Super Bowl 53 between the Patriots and the Rams. And that game ended at 13-3, Patriots winning. So the second Super Bowl where the first 3 quarters, no touchdowns. And this happens in the last 8 years, within the last 8 years. Sam Darnold, quarterback of the Seahawks, as we said, best career turnaround in NFL history. We got to add that in there. I mean, he earned it. He earned it, raising that Lombardi trophy last night. Seahawks they'll lose in the division round next year. I mean, again, I don't want to make my early season I don't want to make early predictions today. I don't. A lot of people are making predictions, and that's okay. I mean, I can respect a lot of them. I do have my prediction on the Seahawks and Patriots for next year already, but yeah, I'm personally not going to make those today. I will be making them later on in the offseason, and I will explain pretty much when that will be happening, because at the end of the show, I will announce how this offseason is going to go here for the Huddle Hub podcast. So early prediction, Broncos, Eagles. Okay. I mean, Bo Nix trying to get that redemption for getting injured in the, in the divisional round. Philadelphia, continuing their cycle of, for Jalen Hurts, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl. So maybe it's fitting. It's fitting for the storyline, I guess. I don't believe in the whole storyline thing, but it's fitting. It would work. Mike Macdonald, he is the 3rd head coach in history to have a top-ranked scoring defense in 2023. He also had a top-ranked scoring defense in 2025, and then he won the Super Bowl as a head coach. He is the 3rd coach to do so in history. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he is the 4th player to lead in receiving yards in the season and then win a Super Bowl. He is the first to do it before the age of 24. Yep. John Schneider, GM of the Seahawks, he is the first GM to win a Super Bowl with 2 different head coaches and 2 different complete rosters. And he also joins the 2020 Buccaneers, the 2015 Broncos, and the 2009 Saints as the only team in the last 20 years to win a Super Bowl with a free agent quarterback that they did not draft. So you think of that, the Buccaneers back in 2020, they didn't draft Tom Brady, but they went out and picked him up, won the Super Bowl. The Broncos, they didn't draft Peyton Manning, went and picked him up, won the Super Bowl. And then the Saints, they didn't draft Drew Brees. They picked him up back in 2005, 2006, and then they win the Super Bowl in 2009. So, not a lot of teams go out there, pick up a free agent quarterback, and then, win the Super Bowl. So, the Seahawks are the 17th franchise to win multiple Super Bowls. Okay, so 17th franchise to do that. And then Kenneth Walker III, he is the first running back to win Super Bowl MVP since Terrell Davis back at Super Bowl 32 when the Broncos defeated the Packers. So those are the records and milestones from Super Bowl 60. Okay. We're going to get into the news of everything. Not a big show today. Not a big show, but, again, post-game show. Got to do this. So a lot of news came out since yesterday, which is crazy. The news is always flowing in the NFL and in football, always. And we were able to pull some news out since yesterday. So before we do so, before we get into the news, we're going to take about a 30-second break here on the Huddle Hub podcast. Be right back. All right, so make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast on social media after the show today, over on X and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the follow button. Over on YouTube, you're going to hit the subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. And make sure you are hitting the follow button here on the Twitch channel. Make sure you're turning those notifications on, as well as this is going to be a pretty interesting off season. Normally, we do the shows on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There may be times during the offseason where shows happen on different days, different times, and that's why you want to go over to X. That's where show announcements are made for the Huddle Hub podcast. So go over to the X, hit that follow button, and help us build, and all over social media, and help us build the Huddle Hub podcast going through the NFL offseason and beyond. Okay. So let's get into the news of things. First off, this is all football news, okay? Some college news came out yesterday. So we're going to add that in here, and we're going to lump that in to the news for today. North Dakota State, they are going to be joining the Mountain West Conference. Okay, so North Dakota State, you know, they were, I guess you can consider them like a D2 school. You know, they had their own little national championship in the conference they were in. They're now entering the big leagues. They're going into the Mountain West Conference, and they are going to take a shot at, trying to make the college football playoff and everything like that. So North Dakota State, they've had some good football players, some good NFL players come out of North Dakota State. So, you know, it's kind of fitting for North Dakota State to put themselves in this position, especially with how the transfer portal is nowadays. I mean, look at Vanderbilt and the turnaround they had this year. You know, so North Dakota State putting themselves in that position. So let's see if North Dakota State can set the tone in the Mountain West Conference. You know, we're going to do a show where we talk about all the teams that have transferred conferences as the Pac-12 is being rebuilt. So a couple teams have entered in there, like Boise State. You know, so we're gonna do a show about that. Okay, we're not going to get deep into that today. James Pierce Jr., we talked about him yesterday, the defensive end from the Falcons. He is being held in a Miami-Dade County facility, and he is on a $20,500 bond. He is being charged for five domestic violence-related felony charges. 5. Okay. So me and Cam talked about this yesterday about these players going out and getting in the trouble that they're in. There is a story that's out on social media. It says that rookie James Pierce allegedly crashed his vehicle into one being driven by WNBA player Rakai Jackson multiple times and struck a police officer with the vehicle while evading the arrest, according to the criminal complaint, and that was obtained by ESPN. So a messy situation. Messy situation. And, again, these young players, man, make your decisions, make smart decisions. You can go out and have fun. You can go out and do what you feel you need to do and want to do and all that stuff, but be responsible and be smart about it. Don't do stupid stuff. And you put yourself in these positions, and then, it can delay your career. It could possibly ruin your career. And this situation right here may have possibly done that for James Pierce Jr. So we'll have to find out. We'll keep an eye on this story as it progresses. He was also given a pretrial conditional stay away order against Rakai. So the order is basically he needs to stay away from Rakai. And that's it. Smart by the judge to do that. You don't want him going near her. Stay out of more trouble. So there you go. He's not allowed to have any interactions whatsoever with her. George Pickens, as we talked about yesterday, has the franchise tag being placed on him. But the reports have come out that the Cowboys, after they place the franchise tag on him, could actually trade him. So just think of it that way, as they can place a franchise tag on him, but then use him for trade value. Now, if I was Dallas, and first off, this is a Jerry Jones move. It is. Franchise tag a guy and then trade him. That's so Jerry Jones. Come on now. Just let the guy walk at this point. Why would you tag him only to trade him? I get you want to try and gain value, and you're probably going to get a third-round draft pick, second-round draft pick at best for him, and you want to gain that draft stock. But come on. Why put the guy through the whole thing of franchise tag and then trading him? Just let him hit the market and put the feelers out there. Instead of relying on a GM to trade you somewhere that you may not be happy with going to. Because you look at it this way. Again, you go back to earlier this year. Darius Slay got traded to Buffalo. He didn't want to play in Buffalo. Pittsburgh ends up sending him to Buffalo. And he says, no, I don't want to go to Buffalo. He didn't play the rest of the season. Showed up for Pittsburgh. Wanted to play in Pittsburgh. You send him to Buffalo and you don't want to play. And that can happen to George Pickens. He can end up getting traded somewhere he does not want to go. Let the guy walk. Let him, feel out and go somewhere where he knows he's going to be happy and he's going to play. Or have a stipulation to where he can decide, like, hey, this is where I want you to trade me. Because this is where I know I'll be happy. This is a young kid who has a bright, bright future ahead of him. Hell of a wide receiver. Don't do that to him. Seriously, Dallas. Guarantee Jerry Jones tags him and fucking tries to trade him. It'd be so stupid. Former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. He can end up coming out of retirement in 2026. Now, if he does come out of let me start over with that one. Former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr could end up unretiring in 2026. And the situation, number one, has to be right. And number two, the coaching staff has to be right and has to be a fit. Now, Derek Carr, he retired about a year or two ago. As we know, he walked away from the game. And it was a pretty surprise to some people to see him just walk away. There was a lot of debacle going on out in Vegas, whether he was going to continue being the quarterback or not. Well, he ends up, leaving and retiring. And now he could possibly come back to football and play. The question is where? Where does he go? And what are the standards of the coaching staff being the right fit? Because we've had 10 coaching staff changes, full coaching staff changes in the NFL for 10 organizations. And there's a couple organizations out there that need a quarterback. As we talked about it yesterday, Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins are looking for a trade partner for him. The Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, they're looking for a trade partner for him. The Cleveland Browns, they seem like they're set on Shedeur Sanders, but not so sure. But then they got Deshaun Watson, who he's, I'm guessing, expecting to come back in 2026. Maybe. And you got the Raiders, who need a quarterback. Derek Carr played for the Raiders. And he's got a coach coming in that would be favorable to him in Clint Kubiak. Because Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks, is the head coach for the Raiders now. But They're also predicted to go out and get Fernando Mendoza. So there's a lot of situations to where Derek Carr can come back, and they might be good situations. You know, he's not going to want to be a backup. He's going to want to be a starter. That's going to be the other role. It's all about what teams need quarterbacks. The Jets need a quarterback. I mean, we could sit here and run down. We could sit here and run down the whole NFL and think about what teams need quarterbacks and what teams don't. Let's try and do a rapid fire. Eagles, no. Giants, no. Commanders, no. Cowboys, no. Okay. Packers, no. Vikings, maybe. I mean, J.J. McCarthy's kind of a 50-50 right now. Bears, no. Lions, no. Okay. Saints, no. Bucks, no. Falcons, maybe. Because of Michael Penix. I mean, they're letting go of Kirk Cousins. So maybe the Falcons. And then the Panthers, no. And then 49ers, no. Seahawks, no. Cardinals, yes. And Rams, no. Okay. So we have what? Two teams in the NFC that possibly need a quarterback. 2. You go to the AFC side of things. Titans, no. Texans, no. Jaguars, no. Colts, maybe. Depending on whether they bring, Daniel Jones back or not. That's a maybe. So the Colts, maybe. Raiders, I don't think he goes back to the Raiders. Chiefs, no. Broncos, no. Chargers, no. Steelers, maybe, depending on Aaron Rodgers' decision, maybe. Ravens, no. Dolphins, maybe, because they want to get rid of Tua, so maybe. And Patriots, no. And then I'm trying to think of the other divisions here that I'm thinking that I did the AFC West, did the AFC South, did the AFC East, AFC North, Steelers, Steelers, maybe. Browns, maybe. Ravens, no. And Bengals, no. So not many teams, about four or five teams. Maybe need quarterbacks. So there's a chance Derek Carr could come back, be in the right situation, be the starter. Who knows? We'll have to see. Max Crosby, he's uncertain of his future with the Raiders as the trade rumors are looming around again. Okay, so trade rumors of Max Crosby are floating around again, and he's unsure of whether he'll be a Vegas Raider next year or not. So if I was Max Crosby, if I want to win a championship, I'd get out of Las Vegas because the Vegas Raiders have a lot to build on. And, he's getting to the point of his career where it's win now or you may not win one at all. It's as simple as that. So we'll have to see. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the Steelers, he is thinking about a return in 2026 with Pittsburgh. Okay, so there was talks yesterday. There was an interview done with Mike McCarthy, and Mike McCarthy said that he would love to have Aaron Rodgers back. And then Aaron Rodgers apparently did some type of interview too, and he said, "I am highly, debating this right now, and it is highly likely I will be back in Pittsburgh next year." So Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be back in Pittsburgh next year. So Steelers fans, look forward to that. Oh, that's something to look at for next year, that your quarterback may be Aaron Rodgers again. And realistically, in hindsight, when you think about it, did Aaron Rodgers really, really do that bad for you guys? Now, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not the biggest fan of Aaron Rodgers either. But you got to think of it. A lot of guys were excited to have him in the building. You've seen some changes, players' demeanors, how they played, everything like that. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, nobody expected him to have the year that he did. Had a hell of a year. Aaron Rodgers had a 65.7 completion percentage, 3,322 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 94.8 rating. Okay, not bad. Not a bad season. And he seems pretty locked in Pittsburgh. He liked Pittsburgh. And now that Mike McCarthy, a guy who he gets along with very well, coming in. Now, yeah, he had that relationship with Mike Tomlin. But I think his relationship is much deeper with Mike McCarthy. To be honest. Why? Because they played together. They were on the Packers for so many years. That's why. Not saying that him and Tomlin's relationship wasn't deep, but him and Mike McCarthy, is super deep to the fact because they were in Green Bay together for so many years. So Aaron Rodgers could possibly be coming back, and it's most likely he's going to be back in Pittsburgh in 2026. Talk about Tua Tagovailoa out in Miami. There was talks again yesterday about him being on his way out. Well, Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, could possibly also be on his way out of Miami and could be looking for one more free agent payday. Yeah. So Dolphins fans, get ready for at least a restructure. I wouldn't say full rebuild because you guys don't have that bad of a team. It's not that bad in Miami. Things could be a lot worse, but build off what you got and then try and build into what you lose. Simple as that. So, but Tyreek Hill may be on his way out in Miami. So that is the news that came out since yesterday. So, oh man. So as we know, the NFL offseason is coming up. Now, here on the Huddle Hub podcast, we don't only cover the NFL. We cover college football, and we also cover the UFL. The UFL does kick off in a couple of weeks. We also have the International Arena Football League that kicks off in 68 days. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that as well, the International Arena Football League. And if you're wondering what the International Arena Football League is, okay, and I'll get my notes here. I wasn't prepared really to talk about this today, but since I'm bringing it up, we'll discuss this really, really quick. Okay, the International Arena Football League is made up of 10 teams. Okay, you have 5 European teams and 5 teams from the United States of America. Over in Europe, Dusseldorf, the Dusseldorf Warriors. Glasgow has the Glasgow Tartans. Nottingham has the Nottingham Eruptors. Stuttgart has the Stuttgart Stallions, and Zurich is the Zurich Ibex. Okay, those are the names of the teams. And again, kickoff is on April 18th for this league. So it's coming up pretty quick. But those are the European teams. In North America, the North America Conference, which is the United States of America, we have the Pennsylvania Benjamins. Okay. Now, being from Pennsylvania myself, haven't had arena football in a long time. We obviously used to have the Philadelphia Soul, and then they went away. Having an arena team now, again, which is awesome. I love arena football. I enjoy it. I've never experienced a live game, but I would love to. And the Pennsylvania Benjamins, their home facility is only going to be an hour away from where I'm at. So I'm pretty excited to the fact that I might be going to some Pennsylvania Benjamin games this year. I don't like the name. I'm not the biggest fan of the name. I'm not. But I get it. I get why they named them that. I think they could have done a lot better with the name, but it is what it is. Cincinnati, Ohio has the Cincinnati Slingers. The Arizona has the Arizona Juggernauts. Utah has the Utah Great Eights. Great Eights. And how literally you go and look on the American and look on the International Arena Football League website. It is Utah, the word great with the number 8 at the end. So the Great 8. The Utah Great 8. Yeah. And then you have the Las Vegas Rockers. I like that one, and I actually liked their logo as well. They have a pretty sick logo. So, again, kickoff is on April 18th for a lot of these teams. So that's when the league kicks off. So I'm pretty excited because we are getting an arena football league back. So pretty excited about that. And we'll definitely be covering it here on the Huddle Hub podcast, along with the UFL. The UFL, I want to get a kickoff date because I believe it's next month. I actually just seen a picture. Last night during the Super Bowl, somebody ran onto the field. I just seen a picture of it. It's pretty funny. So the UFL kicks off on March 27th. March 27th, and the first game is going to be the Birmingham Stallions against the Louisville Kings. That's going to happen on Fox. And then Saturday the 28th, the DC Defenders against the St. Louis Battlehawks. And then the Houston Gamblers against the Dallas Renegade. And then on March 29th, the Columbus Aviators against the Orlando Storm. So that is week 1 of the UFL. And we are definitely going to cover that here on the Huddle Hub podcast. Definitely. So, but as we know, the NFL offseason is upon us. Again, football is a year-round thing. It is. Now, it is February 9th right now, okay? So literally the NFL has 7 days, 8 days to kind of sit back, relax, and get over the Super Bowl high from the week, okay? Right? So the NFL has about 7 days to get over the Super Bowl high, right? Because here is the schedule for the NFL offseason. From February 17th to March 3rd, teams have the franchise tag deadline. So it is the window for teams to place franchise tags on players. From February 23rd to March 2nd is the NFL Combine. From March 9th to March 11th is negotiations for free agents. So teams are able to, it's tampering period. They're able to tamper with players that are going to become free agents and set up an arrangement for a contract. And then those contracts become finalized on the day that free agent starts, which is the new league year. And the new league year is on March 11th. So they'll have time to kind of get those contracts set up by March 11th. League meetings from March 29th to April 1st. League meetings are going to be happening. On April 15th, it's the deadline for draft prospects to go and visit teams. So the 15th of April is when teams have to have their final meetings with the draft prospects. On April 17th, it is restricted free agent deadline. So any restricted free agents, the deadline needs to be met for their contracts and stuff like that. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. On April 20th is the off-season workouts for returning coaches and players. So players and coaches that are returning to the team that are under contract, that were there back here in 2025, the returning players and coaches are going to have their first off-season workout. Okay. And then April 23rd to April 25th is the NFL draft. And then May 1st is the deadline for teams to exercise their 5th-year option on 2023 draft picks. May 1st through the 4th or 8th through the 11th, clubs may hold 3-day rookie mini camps. Okay. So May 1st through the 4th or the 8th through the 11th, after the draft, teams can hold rookie mini camps if they want to. May 13th through the 17th is the NFLPA Rookie Premiere. May 19th and 20th is the Spring League meetings in Orlando, where they start having final decisions on, rulings and stuff that is going to set the tone for the 2026 season. And then on July 15th is the deadline for teams to sign franchise players to contract extensions. So contract extensions must be submitted by July 15th. So there you go. That is the whole off-season schedule for the NFL, and we are going to cover that here on the Huddle Hub podcast every step of the way. Okay? That's the plan here. With it being the end of the 2025-2026 NFL season, the plan is to keep going. We aren't going to stop because we have the offseason coming up. We are going to keep going. Why? Because there's a bunch of offseason stuff to cover. We got the draft. We got the combine. We got mini camps. We got preseason. We got so much free agency to talk about. So much to cover. And that is why we will be here through the offseason. We aren't going to take a hiatus. We're not going to go away for a little bit. No, the Huddle Hub podcast keeps going. We also got the UFL to talk about. We got the new International Arena Football League to talk about. And plus, there's going to be things that happen in college football with the transfer portal and NIL deals, everything to talk about in college football. So the Huddle Hub podcast through the offseason will be live here. Make sure you're going over to the X at the Huddle Hub pod for all show announcements, but the normal show schedule is Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. I had to get that video done. I had to. All right. But that's it, guys. That's all I got. That's it. Crazy season. Crazy 2025 NFL season. Crazy playoffs. It has been one for the record books. I will say that. It has been fun. And I am looking forward to the 2026 NFL season. I am excited. I'm ready for the NFL season to kick off in 2026. And I know that's weird to say, especially the day after the Super Bowl. But let's face it, this was a weird year. This season was super weird. Teams that you didn't expect to win the way they did or as many games as they did. Teams to make the playoffs you didn't expect, did. And obviously the two teams that made the Super Bowl weren't even predicted to make the playoffs by most people. So this was a weird year. And I am so looking forward to see what the 2026 season brings. Because if it's anything like it was this year, then we know that everything is up for grabs. That was the one thing I would say came out of this season is no team had dominance. And what I mean is you didn't have a team that went out there and went 15-2, 16-1. You had a couple teams that went 14-3, 13-4, 10-7, 12-5. You didn't have that one team that went out and only lost one or two games. You had a couple teams that went out and lost 3 games. Made the playoffs. 7 different division champions this year. The only team that repeated was the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East. The San Francisco 49ers going into the playoffs with basically backups and getting to the divisional round. And then to top it off, Sam Darnold raises the Lombardi Trophy. Say that one more time. Sam Darnold raises the Lombardi Trophy. If that doesn't cap off a weird year, I don't know what does. But with how weird it was also fun. And I am excited for the future. I am excited for the 2026 season. With that being said, guys, follow the Huddle Hub Podcast over on social media. X, TikTok, at the Huddle Hub Pod, YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. You're going to hit the subscribe button. You're going to follow on the Twitch channel here. All of these social media outlets are in the bio. You can click on whatever one you desire and go and follow and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast through the NFL offseason and beyond. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat. Metal Mike 714 is where you can find me. I will be live later on tonight with Cam over on the table spot over on Rivet City Radio. So come and check that out after Monday Night Raw as we review Monday Night Raw. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Take care of each other. Be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Guys, I'll see you Sunday morning. Have a great week. Deuces.